Do you ever have those moments where you feel completely isolated? Not because nobody is around, but because nobody truly understands the weight you're carrying inside. You try to explain it. You search for the right words, but somehow something always gets lost along the way. People may hear what you say, yet it still feels like they never fully see what's really going on beneath the surface. After a while, you stop trying. Not because you no longer want to be understood, but because it becomes draining to keep explaining something that others can't fully comprehend. Slowly, that silence begins to grow. It settles quietly into the background of your life like a hidden burden you carry every day. Because it's never just about the situation itself. It's about feeling like you're the only person facing it. You look around and everyone else seems to be moving ahead, solving problems, handling life, figuring things out. Meanwhile, you're carrying thoughts, pressure, and questions that seem trapped inside your own mind with nowhere to belong. That's where the loneliness begins. Not loudly, but deeply. A constant, quiet isolation that's difficult to explain. And the hardest part is that you still keep showing up. You still do what needs to be done. You still push yourself forward, even when it feels like nobody notices how much strength that actually takes. Because you continue functioning, people assume you're okay, but you know there's more beneath the surface. You know the truth. You know the truth. There are moments when everything becomes still and the weight feels impossible to ignore. Moments where your thoughts grow louder. Moments where that silent feeling of being misunderstood presses harder against you. And during those times, advice doesn't help. Encouragement feels distant because what you truly need isn't another solution. It's understanding. You want someone to recognize what you're carrying without needing every detail explained. You want someone to see the burden without forcing you to prove it first. Because when that kind of connection is missing, everything feels heavier. But here's something most people fail to realize. Feeling misunderstood does not mean you are alone. It simply means you're carrying something deeper than what most people are used to seeing. And yes, that difference can feel isolating, but it also reveals something important. It means you've been carrying far more than you give yourself credit for. Because despite everything, you're still here, still moving forward, still carrying what others never even notice. And that matters, even if nobody says it, even if nobody acknowledges it. That strength is real. Right now, it may feel buried underneath everything you've been dealing with, but it hasn't disappeared. It's still there, the same part of you that has carried you through every difficult moment before this one, the same part that kept going when life felt uncertain, overwhelming, or unclear. And what you're feeling right now, this sense of being misunderstood, is not the end of the road. It's simply a moment where your perspective can either shrink inward or begin to change. Because once you accept that other people may never fully understand you and that it's okay, something shifts inside you. You stop waiting for validation. You stop needing others to confirm what you already know deep down. And suddenly space begins to open. Space for clarity. Space for strength. Space to move forward without needing every person around you to understand your journey. That is where real change begins. Not outside of you, but within you. Because you begin relying less on what other people see and more on what you know for yourself. On your own experiences, on everything you've already survived and proven through the weight you've carried. And from that realization comes something powerful: stability. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you stop depending on others to define your reality for you. So if you feel like nobody understands you right now, don't see it as weakness. See it as a moment asking you to trust yourself on a deeper level. To recognize everything you've already endured. You've survived difficult moments before, and you survived them for a reason. What you're about to hear is not meant to explain your life for you. It's meant to meet you exactly where you are, to remind you of something steady, something grounded, something that never truly left you, even if it feels far away right now. So listen carefully, not only to the words, but to what they awaken inside you. Because the moment you reconnect with that part of yourself, you stop feeling as alone as you do now. And that changes everything. There is a condition many men experience, though very few can clearly describe it. It is not simply the absence of people, not the absence of conversation, not even the absence of support. It is something quieter and far more subtle. A man can stand surrounded by others, speak openly, even be heard, and still feel as though what he carries has never truly been recognized. And within that feeling, he slowly begins to believe he is alone. This belief does not form all at once. It grows gradually through repetition. A man tries to explain what he is going through. He chooses his words carefully. He says as much as he can. He presents his thoughts clearly. Others respond. They listen. Some even offer encouragement. Yet something still feels unfinished. It feels as though only the surface has been touched while the deeper truth remains unseen. Over time, this creates hesitation. He begins wondering whether explaining himself is even worth the effort anymore. He senses that what he carries cannot easily be translated into words, that the experience itself is more layered than language can fully express, and slowly he begins speaking less, not because he has nothing to say, but because he no longer expects to be completely understood. This is where misunderstanding quietly begins. He mistakes the absence of complete recognition for the absence of connection. He assumes that because others cannot fully see him, they do not see him at all. And from that belief, isolation starts to grow. But that conclusion is not entirely true, because there is a difference between being unseen and being alone. To be unseen means carrying something difficult for others to recognize. To be alone means having no connection whatsoever. These are not the same thing. Many men who feel this way are not disconnected from others at all. They are simply operating with a level of thought, responsibility, and internal depth that is not immediately visible. They think more deeply. They carry more internally. They process more than they ever reveal outwardly. And because of this, what happens inside them is rarely reflected in their external interactions. There are men who move through life carrying this quiet depth every single day. They fulfill responsibilities, maintain their roles, continue moving forward without drawing attention to what they hold inside. Others see them as steady, capable, composed. People rely on them. People trust them. Yet internally, they experience something entirely different. A quiet sense that what they carry is never fully seen. This creates a powerful contrast between appearance and reality. Others see strength, the man feels weight, others see stability. The man feels depth that has never been recognized. And from that contrast, a dangerous belief can begin to form, that nobody truly understands him. And from there, another belief emerges, that he must carry everything alone. There are many men who reach this point while continuing to function at a high level. They still show up, still perform, still meet expectations, but internally they feel separated, not because connection is absent, but because their experience is not reflected back by the people around them. Others may describe these men as distant or difficult to read, but their silence is not emptiness. It is fullness without clear expression. There is a truth worth remembering here. I am not alone. I am simply carrying more than what can easily be seen. This understanding does not erase the feeling. It reframes it. Instead of seeing the situation as absence of connection, it becomes recognition of depth. And once this awareness begins to grow, the man starts seeing his situation differently. He realizes that another person's inability to fully understand him does not invalidate his experience. It only reflects a difference in perspective. He begins understanding that people can only interpret life through the limits of their own experiences, and sometimes what he carries extends beyond those limits. This realization does not create distance, it creates clarity. There is also a shift in how he views his own silence. He no longer sees it as disconnection. He begins seeing it as discernment. He understands that not everything must be explained, not everything meant. He understands that not everything must be explained, not everything must be translated into words, and not everything needs to be shared in order to be real. People begin noticing the difference. They see a man who no longer chases complete understanding from others, yet remains fully engaged with life. He appears calmer, more grounded, less affected by whether others understand every detail of his inner world. A quiet confidence replaces the hesitation that once lived inside him, and that presence carries power. Because people who do not rely on constant recognition are often perceived as strong. They are seen as individuals who do not need external approval to maintain their direction. Through that shift, their presence becomes more solid. There is also a transformation in how the man senses his own thoughts. They stop feeling so isolating, not because others suddenly understand everything, but because he no longer interprets misunderstanding as complete disconnection. He separates the two. He understands that connection can still exist even without perfect understanding. It is important to recognize that depth itself often creates this experience. The deeper a man thinks, the more he processes internally, the harder it becomes to fully communicate every layer of what he experiences. That is not weakness. It is depth. There may still be moments when the feeling returns, moments when he senses once again that what he carries is unseen. But the man who has gained awareness no longer interprets that feeling the same way. He no longer concludes that he is alone. He simply recognizes that some experiences extend beyond immediate recognition. And over time, this understanding changes everything. The feeling of isolation slowly weakens, not because other people changed, but because his interpretation changed. There are men who, after realizing this, no longer felt trapped by the need to be completely understood. They continued connecting with others, continued engaging, continued building relationships, without expecting every piece of their inner experience to be mirrored back to them. And within that, they discovered freedom. They stopped waiting, stopped over-explaining, stopped measuring connection through complete understanding. Others often describe such men as calm, centered, self-contained. But what they are truly witnessing is clarity. And so the misunderstanding is corrected. A man is not alone simply because he is not fully understood. He is carrying depth that cannot always be immediately seen. And the moment he realizes this, the weight of isolation begins to loosen, because he no longer measures connection by how much others understand him. He measures it by how clearly he understands himself. And within that understanding, he discovers something that had always been there beneath the surface. Not separation, but quiet strength.